Hey,
Hey,
Andrea. I dropped my phone. Look at that.
I was
How are
trying
you?
not to drop mine. I'm good.
I'm in a different location than I usually am when I do these, so I wasn't sure how steady my phone
Oh,
was going to be. So I guess we found out.
yes, it's okay.
So, how are you on this rainy Tuesday?
I'm doing okay. A little tired, but I'm doing okay. It's been a very busy day,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I'm doing
Did you get a
good.
run in
I
today?
did very busy. I didn't get a chance to get a run in today, but that's okay. I'll get it in tomorrow.
It's been a busy day, I imagine, because you launched your Instagram channel
My
today,
YouTube,
and we're going
yes.
to talk. We're going to YouTube, of course. I tell you what, it has been a long day for me too. Your YouTube channel today. We're gonna talk about that in a second, but I want to talk about you first. Tell us about who you are and how you became such a big time runner.
All right, so it actually started with Atlanta Track Club, which is really, really interesting. So my dad used to run the Peachtree Road Race when he lived here in Atlanta, and that's when I was a little girl, and I just decided to make my first race the Peachtree Road Race. So that was in 2008. So I ran that, and unfortunately at that time I was on again, off again running. It was one of those things where I would only train for the Peachtree Road Race, and then that was it. I would just fall off. So I ended up just getting more consistent. So between 2008 and 2014, I kind of did that back and forth. And then in 2014, it was just something that clicked in me. And I said, you know what? I need to be serious about this and actually get on the serious boat. And so I started doing a race a month. So that was very, very fun and interesting. And it just kind of kicked off from there.
And I can tell by all those medals behind you, it really kicked off.
Yes.
How many marathons have you done? I know you chronicled your first two in Chicago, but how many have you done now?
Yeah, so I've done those are my two. So I'm hoping that once racing gets live again, I can hopefully conquer the world majors. But I have done 14 half marathons. So that's kind of my sweet spot. I love halves. Marathons, it's like, it's a love-hate relationship with those.
I think that's everybody's, really. At least that's always been my experience.
Yeah.
I love thinking about doing them. I love the process of training for them. And about 20 miles in, I absolutely hate them.
Yeah. Like, who does this?
Right, exactly. I can't tell you how many times in a marathon I've said I'm never doing this again, only to sign up for another marathon like a week later.
I remember on my first one, I was like, who likes to do this for fun? Like, this was a bad idea. But of course, at the end, I was like, I'm never doing it again. And of course, signed up for my second one.
Now, were you signed up for any of the races that were canceled because of COVID-19?
Yes. So my first race this year was Selma to Montgomery 52-mile relay. That was earlier this year. So that was kind of my main race at that time. I had some smaller 5Ks and 10Ks, but that was one of my big races that I had planned. And of course, it was 9 runners that was going down to Alabama to do that relay race. And it was a lot of preparation that came along with that. So.
Tell me a little bit about that race, why you chose that race, and just what it was like to be part of that, because I'm sure it was a very powerful experience beyond just the running part of it.
Yeah, so I mean, unfortunately, we weren't able to run it, but it was one of those things where obviously the Selma to Montgomery March, the Civil Rights Movement, and being able to actually run on the routes that they were marching. So it was one of those things where I look back into my history and I said, you know, I want to be able to be on those roads. Something that the beauty about racing is that you can physically be on roads that you may not be able to walk on, you know, in other times, over bridges. And so that was something that, like, the bridge that we would have been running over it's historic. So unfortunately the race didn't go on, and hopefully in 2021 we will be able to do it. But it was fun to be able to get 9 runners plus a driver together to be able to kind of plan that race. So we were able to say, what leg are you going to do? And it was a variety of legs, and we will all split up. We were going to split up the 52 miles.
I heard you wrong. I thought you had got that one in just under the.
No, I mean, yeah, that was I was really looking forward to.
Yeah. So speaking of your history, you're from Atlanta. You're one of those rare people that was born and raised here. You're not a transplant. Where did you grow up in Atlanta? Where'd you go to high school?
Yeah, so I grew up in Stone Mountain, Georgia. So, and I actually went to Stevenson High School. So definitely right in the Stone Mountain area.
And you stayed here. What is it about Atlanta that keeps you here?
I just love it. My family moved to Texas because of Dad's work. But at that time, I was old enough to stay and make a decision to stay here. It just kind of worked. I ended up, my first year of college was at Spelman. And then I ended up taking some time off. And then I went to Georgia State, graduated from there. And then Clark, Atlanta for my master's. So it just kind of worked. I think everything was just, work was going well. College was going well, so I just didn't have a need to move. And it's one of those things when you live and you grow up in Atlanta, it's hard to move away. Whereas if you live somewhere else and you come to Atlanta, it's just a different process.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm from New York, and 5 years in, I'm now just getting used to what Atlanta's like, and I love it. But it's rare that you meet somebody who was born and raised here. But people who are born and raised here all seem to have the same feedback. Like, we love it. We can't imagine ourselves anywhere else.
Right.
Have you gotten a chance to see your family at all during this lockdown?
No, I haven't. We do Zoom meetings, so we have been able to do that. So that's been really exciting. So we've been doing a couple Zoom meetings just to be able to see each other. But hopefully, depending upon what happens in the fall, I'll be able to hopefully travel there. But right now, it's just Zoom meetings for now.
I want to talk about the first thing I think you're known for, and that's the Run Duo podcast.
Yes.
You and Thomas Mitchell, as you noted on your YouTube today, they call him Tommy.
Yeah.
I never know whether I can call him Tommy or not. Like, we don't know each other that well. But tell me how that came about. Okay, good. We're Facebook friends. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like that's. Tell me how that podcast came about, because it's really caught on. And how long have you guys been doing it? And how did you get started?
So we have been doing the podcast since 2018. I was previously doing my vlog, as you mentioned. I vlogged the process for my first, my 2 marathons that I did. So I was vlogging at that time. And Tommy had his own podcast called Shut Up Tommy. And so he got to a point where Shut Up Tommy, he said that he was tired of talking to himself and he wanted to add a co-host to it. So he asked me, and I was like, you know what, that may work. So we ended up just kind of colliding and coming together, changing the name, revamping just doing a whole new podcast launch. And we've been doing it ever since. So the Run Duo podcast, and we do it we record every other Tuesday, but on Thursdays is when we launch. And so we've been going every other Thursday since 2018. We haven't missed an episode.
And Tommy's in the chat. He just confirmed that I can call him Tommy. So
yes.
I'm glad to know. For people who may have never heard the podcast, what sets it apart from other running podcasts? Why should people tune in?
I think it's more so because Tommy and I, well, first of all, it's rare to have a male and female co-host. So that's one thing. The other thing is that Tommy and I just have a different chemistry in regards to, we talk about running things, we talk about races, we talk about things that are coming up, we talk about our personal journeys. So in the beginning of the podcast, usually we do what we call shenanigans, where we kind of give a update on what's going on with us, what are some things that are going on in the racing world, how our trainings are going. And then we also interview people. So we love to interview runners and people that are involved in the running and racing community. So people that are, to us, deserve a platform to be able to kind of talk about the great things that they're doing. And I just think it's different than, I think we're very casual and laid back. And so it's not as stat driven, and we do throw stuff out there. Of course, we talk about elites, and we interview elites, we interview casual everyday runners, we interview a full gamut of people. So I think that's what is exciting, and I would say it's pretty entertaining at the same time.
Yeah, I have to say I've been on the podcast twice, and both times it doesn't feel like an interview. It feels like just a conversation and a back and forth. It's a lot of fun. I've had an awesome time doing it. Saying that, and I know I'm not going to be the answer, nor should I be, but of all the guests you've had, who's the most interesting person you've had on the show?
Most interesting? I think I really enjoyed Alphine, of course. So she's just an awesome and humble elite runner. I will also say that I like Ward. What is his first name?
Jared.
Yes.
Jared.
So having them on the podcast, and Michael Wardian. So Michael Wardian is very interesting as well. Like, he's just a humble beast. Of course, he's an ultra marathoner, and he does a lot of the, long distance things. So I really enjoy having them on the podcast. So it varies. And this more recently, we just had some people from Hoka on the podcast. So Brandon Johnson was one of the most recent ones. He was an amazing person to interview. He hadn't been on a podcast ever, and he was an Olympic trial runner, and we were able to talk about his experience and his experience with Hoka One. So that was a really good interview as well.
Yeah, I when I first started hearing the podcast, I think I was on one of the earlier episodes. I saw it as a local Atlanta running talk podcast, but you guys have really branched out to the national running audience. In fact, I saw somebody, a friend of mine in New York, talking about your podcast the other day on social media. Have you guys noticed that your audience has really broadened out?
Yes. So our audience has definitely broadened. I will agree with you. In the beginning, it was one of those things where we were kind of interviewing a lot of Atlanta-based runners, but then we realized, like, you know, it's not just Atlanta. I have a lot of friends, a lot of social media followers that are not Atlanta-based, and that's the point of running. It is all over the place. So I would say we definitely have branched out. More recently, we've been in Runner's World Magazine, so that's definitely branched out our audience, and a lot of people that probably did not know about us were able to see us. We did a podcast on Black Lives Matter, so that has gotten a lot of publicity, and it's just been a great journey. So it's something that is really fun, and I'm really excited to be able to talk about running and the passion of running, and to be able to give people platforms that can discuss things that probably, you know, you may not see maybe in a magazine or things of that nature, but there's so many people that are out here doing amazing things, and they deserve to be able to tell their story.
And I know originally you were talking to mostly Atlanta-based guests, and it has broadened out now, but I want to bring it back to Atlanta just a little bit, because we've talked about your roots here. What do you say to people outside of the Atlanta area about the Atlanta running community? Because it feels like we've got kind of a unique thing going on here.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta is, to me, is a big family. So I feel like I literally have a big family. When I go to races here, I never can go somewhere without knowing someone, and it's definitely because of running. So I feel like it's definitely close, family knit. I say it's very diverse. I feel like it can be very diverse here, and I really like it. It's very fun. There's a lot of competition here, which is really, really good. So you can see competition on several levels. A lot of people kind of making sure that we're challenging each other. So that's something that I love about Atlanta. It's really, sometimes at races, I feel like it's a big family reunion.
Well, you mentioned Black Lives Matter, and you mentioned the diversity of the Atlanta running community. Recently, you interviewed Shannon Booker and Kenny Boone, who are two running organizers here in Atlanta for Wingfoot Magazine. They've recently organized runs around Black Lives Matter. Specifically, they did the 8.46 mile run to raise awareness of what happened with George Floyd, and they did the Juneteenth run. Without giving away the article, because it's going to come out tomorrow, and I think people are really going to want to read it. Their answers are phenomenal. It's a great conversation. Tell us just a little bit about this sort of run protest movement that's come up, this peaceful run protest movement that they've started. Yeah,
I would definitely say, well, first, thank you for allowing me to do that interview with those guys. It was great, and I can't wait to see the full article. I'm really excited. So without telling the interview, I just think that it's great for us to be able to come together as runners and protest in an activity that we like to enjoy and do, if that makes any sense. So I'm not a front of the line protest type person, but if I can come together with similar minds amongst diverse individuals, because at those two runs, those pop-up runs that Kenny and Shannon did, it was a diverse group, but we were all out there for the same exact purpose, you know, for social justice and equality. And so at the end of the day, if we're all together, we're fighting for the same purpose, and we're doing it all together, and we can run and stay fit at the same time, why not? So because I'm not a front line person, but I enjoy running and I love it. And the fact that we can hit the pavement and still deliver a message, that's the power and the beauty in numbers.
Yeah, I was at the Juneteenth run, and it was the combination of so many great things. It was celebration, it was the community of running, and it was this message that I felt like everybody really got. And it was really cool to see running used as a vehicle for change. And I really think it's a powerful tool, and I hope other cities start to adopt it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very powerful, and we can continue to do it. There's a lot of run groups here in Atlanta, and I think that's something that I love as well. There's a lot of run groups in various inside the perimeter, outside the perimeter. And if we can just all come together to be unified at one, it could just send such a bigger message than anything else. So I think we're definitely onto something in Atlanta, and I hope it continues to spread.
Yeah, and hopefully we can all come back together soon, because I think we're all tired of running by ourselves.
Yes.
Or running in masks. How excited are you to get back to racing and run groups and things that we haven't seen in so long?
Yeah, so I think that so it wasn't until I did the George Floyd run, and I was really like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize how much I miss people, hugging on people and doing all that, and I couldn't. So I was masked, and I'm like, oh, I want to hug you so bad, but I can't. And so it's one of those things, it's like you see your family and you can't embrace them the way that you would any other time. I am ready for racing to start, but in a healthy way. So I've kind of programmed my mind of, you know, how soon will it be, adjusting to the changes that will take place in regards to running, because I don't think it's going to be what we're used to. But I am excited for racing to start. Running has not canceled, but racing to start, to be able to have that camaraderie and to come together, the conversation, you know, for me, running behind people, trying to catch someone at a race, like those are the things that I miss, because I can run by myself every day, but running with other people, I definitely miss it.
I think you were a big part of America's Marathon Weekend. You were around for the trials and for the Publix Atlanta Half Marathon and Marathon the next day. How strange is it that's kind of where we ended? I mean, that was the last big thing that happened.
It was like the big hurrah day. Like it literally was like the big hurrah. And like if we would have did that like a week later, it wouldn't have happened. And so I just think that it's amazing, and I'm glad to be I was so happy to be a part of it. I feel like Atlanta showed up, showed out. Atlanta Track Club obviously did an amazing job with the production of it and put it on, and it was just a really fun weekend. And I think that that's something that's helped to keep me going, is that was the last like big hoorah in my mind when it comes to racing, and it was just such a good event for it to be kind of the last.
Well, hopefully it sets the precedent, and we pick up right where we left off here whenever we can. I do want to plug your Instagram channel. So you mentioned it was a busy day, and that's because you launched the Instagram channel Miles from India. I watched the first video about an hour ago. It was awesome. Tell us a little bit about why you launched the channel and what kind of content people can find there.
Right. So it's on YouTube. So I launched a YouTube channel today, and it's Miles from India. So something that I found, Jay, when I first started running is that I was looking for kind of help, how-tos, what to do, motivation as a new runner during my running journey before meeting all of the Atlanta running family. And I just felt like it wasn't out there. And I also have seen through this quarantine process that there's a lot of people that go in and out of motivation when it comes to running. So whether it be someone that's interested in becoming a runner, someone that wants to do 5K, 10K, half or full, I just want to be able to provide motivation, education, tips, and just kind of showing people my journey and hopefully encouraging them to do the same thing. Now, you don't have to become a racer. You don't have to become a marathoner, nothing of that nature. But just the excitement of fitness and engagement and getting active is something that I feel like is really needed. So on my channel, you will find how-tos. You'll see my journey. Of course, once racing continues, I will be taking people along on my racing journey. But I also will be giving kind of tips. Buying shoes, what does that look like? How soon should you do it? You know, some things that may be different for me when it comes to nutrition and things of that nature. And of course, my journey is not going to be the same as other people, but it's good to see other people's experiences so that you can maybe do something similar or try it out for yourself.
I don't know if I keep saying Instagram. If I do, I'm sorry. I don't know why that's like going into my brain. I did watch it on YouTube. I do know what YouTube is. I mean, I know I'm a little out of touch, but YouTube. And I want to shout out Les, who's in the chat, Les Mob, who says they were there for Marathon Weekend. So glad you were there. Thanks for watching us tonight. You're providing content that motivates people. What motivates you? What gets you out the door every day?
You know, honestly, I was thinking about that earlier today, and it's really one of those things when you start seeing result in running and when you feel good when you run, it just makes you want to do it again. So for me, I think everybody has their bad days when they run and they either don't feel like it, but on my days when I don't feel like running, that's a good run for me. Like after I get done running, I'm like, I'm so glad I did that. So running is refreshing to me, and I feel like what motivates me is seeing results when I'm running, meaning if it was hard one day and it feels good the next day, And I just continue to see kind of progression and just being able to release the day and knowing that I'm staying fit. And I feel like staying physically fit helps to keep me mentally fit, if you want to call it that. It keeps me mentally fit and just excited, and just kind of helps with other aspects of life. Like, I think we have to realize that during these times, we're balancing so much. So we're balancing changes of life. Everybody is going through a transition, regardless on kind of what's going on with you. Everybody's going through transition with COVID. And I think we just have to continue to find something to look forward to and find something to kind of release those endorphins and just enjoy it. And I love to stay fit and communicate with other people. And I feel like running is for everyone. So to me, you don't have to be an elite runner. You don't have to be super fast. It's for everyone. You can run, walk, and still enjoy it. And you don't have to have all these grandiose things and this long resume to enjoy the sport. So that's what keeps me motivated. And to see people get into it and enjoy it is even more of a push for me.
I know I could use your pep talk daily when I'm forcing myself to get out there in the wee morning hours. But you're not going to be on daily. How often are your videos going to be posted?
I'm going to be doing YouTube every week. So I will be dropping every week. So they will be seeing me weekly on YouTube. And then on my podcast is bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly. And you can get that anywhere you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, all those places?
Yes, so iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podbean as well. So yes, anywhere you can get a podcast, you can also get the podcast.
We got lots of agreements in the comments. Karen says, running is for everyone. Yes,
It
sure is. Well, India, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us tonight. I want to plug everything you've got going on one more time. Run Duo Podcast. Check it out. Subscribe. It's awesome. Miles from India on YouTube, not Instagram. YouTube. Check it out. And then new Wingfoot Magazine drops tomorrow. The digital edition will be in your inboxes if you're an Atlanta Track Club member. India did a great profile with Shannon Booker and Kenny Boone that you've got to read about what they're doing here in Atlanta. So check that out too. And where can we follow you on social media?
So you can follow me on Instagram. At my personal Instagram is I_of_indigo, which is ENDIGO_run. So that's I of Indigo Runs. And then my YouTube page is Miles from India. So you can find me on both of those platforms. And of course, the Run Duo has its own Instagram as well, which is the Run Duo.
And if you missed the beginning of this chat, we're putting it all up on YouTube tomorrow, so you can check that out. India, have a great night. Hope to see you on a run sometime soon.
See you soon, Jay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.